What's going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and it is time for another Friday Night Live. All right, what is going on? Oh, man, I am fished out for this week. I started fishing Monday, but welcome, everybody. Let me get over to the comments. Already a bunch of you already hanging out and waiting. That's awesome. That's awesome. I spent the week on Logan Martin getting ready for this BASS, what do they call it? The BASS Nation Kayak Series tournament on Logan Martin. 233 anglers signed up for this tournament. So it ought to be an absolute barn burner. So I learned a lot. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I learned, kind of give you guys that are going to fish it and aren't there yet, or those that are traveling, or those that are going to show up like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I know there's a good bunch of guys that aren't going to be able to show up until Wednesday. Kind of give you guys the lowdown of what the lake is and what to expect. It's the least I can do. I'm not giving you my spots. Of course, I don't think I have any spots yet because it got really cold the last 2 days and everything changed. But anyway, what's up, David Cox? Joni, Scott, what's going on? Mark, oh, James, what's going on? Bubba Basson, how you doing? If you guys are joining me on my podcast, or if you guys have never listened to my podcast, all of these are re-aired on just about every podcast site there is. Just look it up under Fluke Master Fishing. If you are listening on it through my podcast, welcome. These happen every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern live. You can jump in, you can ask questions, make comments, and you can even make fun of me, and I wouldn't care. But cool. Welcome, everybody. So the Friday night coronavirus edition. Nope. Somebody's going to have to give coronavirus to a bass for me to get it, because that's the only thing I've been touching lately. Oh, man. So... Hoops, I'm not even going to tie it. Anyway, you're from Pennsylvania. Oh, Hoops Heaven, Pennsylvania. What's going on, man? Welcome. I'm glad you joined us. B Brown, what's going on, brother? Ryan, Ash, how's everybody doing? All right, so this week, like I said, I went to Logan Martin, and you guys that are fishing it, feel free to ask questions. I'll answer the ones I feel like. The ones I want to keep secret, I'm going to keep secret. But I fished all over that lake. And a lot of guys ragged on me when they found out I was down there pre-fishing in my boat. You don't have to be in a kayak until Monday, so I wasn't cheating or anything. But my answer to the guys that were ragging on me pretty hard is that boat is my office. I go to work Monday through Friday in my office, which happens to be that boat. And so I've spent the last 2 or 3 weeks in a kayak. I owed it to my boat sponsors and everybody else to be filming out of my boat this week. And then next week, the next 2 weeks, I'll be back in a kayak because I'm fishing Logan Martin and then traveling directly to Lake Fork, Texas to fish the Lake Fork tournaments. You hear that, Tyler? Tyler Reels Fishing's on here. What's up, brother? Yeah, I'll be at Lake Fork fishing starting Monday after the Classic. Oh, goodness. Gene, what advice would you give an aspiring guide? Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I miss guiding because that's really one of my stress releases. I love to take people out fishing. Biggest thing is make sure you're licensed, make sure you get a captain's license. I know a lot of places don't really require it, but it looks good when you're trying to promote yourself. Make videos, put them on YouTube. I got Captain Shane Procell down in Florida. He made his living early on in the days doing YouTube, and that's how he got all of his initial clients. And then once you get established as a guide, all you get is return clients. Just about every single year, you can fill up your whole entire schedule with return clients after 5 to 10 years. So, but anyway, let's see. Oops. Do you like the 13 fishing chatter crank rod? I love it. It's not great for us. I answered this question on one of my videos yesterday. It's not great for like small square bills. It's good for lipless crankbaits, chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, buzzbaits. It's an amazing rod for that. And the larger square bills, the 2.0s, really good rod. So, and it was made for chatterbaits, and it really is. It goes. It's moderate. It flexes all the way down the shaft, but it's a really stiff flex, so it sets the hook really nice. So, all right, this is a good question. It says, does a strict mandatory catch and release policy for a private lake the best thing? Some people say harvesting some average sized fish might be best instead of releasing everything. Your thoughts? I have had this conversation with the #1 warm water fisheries biologist in the country, but Mr. Bob Lusk, owner, editor of Pond Boss magazine, does private lakes all over the country. So it is detrimental to a small pond or a private piece of water to do strictly catch and release. The best thing for you to do is to catch 100 fish, measure them, weigh them, put them back in the water, and get a graph of what you catch. And take that average, and it's usually about 14 inches. Anything under like 12 to 14 inches, get it out of the lake, as many as you can. And then stock the lake full of bluegill and bait fish, and give the bait fish places to hide, places to grow bigger, and your bass will get bigger. You don't want to if you do a lot of catch and release, the little ones will eat everything and the big ones won't grow anymore. So that's it in a nutshell. Good question. Here's one for Tyler. Tyler, when are you going to start doing some lives with us? It's from Bubba Basson. Let's see. Hey, Fluke, happy Friday, long week. Yeah, brother, sure is. It was Monday. I didn't get to fish because it was raining, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today was just cold and windy. I got off the lake early. So let's see. There was a question I missed and I can't find it. See if I can find it. Here goes. Robert Chance says, looking for a fish finder for my kayak. Don't want side imaging or live scope or any of that fancy stuff. Just want down imaging and chirp. I totally agree. Can't decide between Humminbird, Lowrance. Any thoughts? I haven't looked at either one of those since they started doing the chirp. The best that I've used as chirp is the Raymarine Dragonfly. It's got down imaging. It's got the original chirp, and it's got really, really clear down imaging. And but as for Humminbird, Lowrance, I really can't give you an opinion on that. I'd be lying out my teeth if I tried. So, what's your home lake? Do you still guide? If so, how do we get in contact? I don't guide anymore. What I used to do, and what I may end up doing when I retire from YouTube, is I would travel to people's lakes and I would show them how I find fish on their lakes, and then prepare them for the next 3 months of fishing. And so I loved doing that. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of time on the road and that kind of stuff, but it was a blast. I made good money. I charged extra because of it, but that's what I always did. So there really was no home lake. I've been all over the Southeast and shoot up north doing it too, but that was a while ago. Let's see. You were spot on last week on Big G, fish in ditches. We wrecked them. Oh, that's awesome, dude. That's really cool, man. Hey, old blind rat finds a cheese every once in a while. So, what is the best way to fish in colder weather in a creek or small lake? They're going to be in the deep holes is typically where they go in the wintertime. I'm not sure about creek fishing. I know the trout, when I used to creek fish for trout, they would go down in the deep holes in the cold weather. But as for like small lakes and stuff, they're going to be in the deepest water they can get. And if there's a log or a stump down there, they're going to be on that log and stump. So good grief. Tyler Sexton, thanks for the $10, brother. Fishing tomorrow at Watts Bar Open, first one of the season. What would you target the most, such as structure, primary points, pockets? I always start with points. It doesn't matter if I'm fishing a tournament or not. I start with points that are leading into pockets, and then I work the pockets out. And structures are the points. Points are structure. And I'm going to try the steep side of points this time of year. So my girl says you need to come to my lakes and help a sister out. Oh, goodness. That would be fun. I need to get back into that. I just don't have time. One day I will. Let's see. There you go, John. John Bolton answered your question about the Raymarine. He says he's got the Dragonfly floor and for such a small screen, it's got good imaging. So let's see. I know I skipped a bunch of. Let's see. What do I think about the Shimano Corrado DC? I have never used one. I've met guys that like them. and I've met guys that don't like them. The guys that like them love them, and the guys that don't like them, there's like 5 guys I know that have bought one or more and ended up getting rid of them because they didn't like them. I don't have an opinion. So, what's the best bait caster in my opinion? I don't know. I've been using 13 for so long, I wouldn't even be able to tell you. Goodness, it's been 4 years I've been sponsored by 13 Fishing. I think almost 4 years. So, let's see. All right, let me get caught back up. How long does it take bass to grow to be 10 pounds? Man, I talked to Bob about this once. It all depends on how much food they get. If a bass gets something to eat every day, I want to say it's 8 years or 10 years, something like that, 8 or 9 years. I know a bass lives to be between 12 and 15 years old, and they can live longer. But I think it was like 8 or 9 years is what we guessed that if they got everything that they needed to eat, it was 8 or 9 years before they became a 10-pound bass. So can I make another jig time video? I'll have my son do it. Jordan ties jigs now. I don't. So I still got all the stuff. Is it buzzbait time yet? Backwoods? No, it's not. I wish it was. I looked at them just today while I was getting repacked for my tournament. So, all right. So let me talk a little bit about Neely Henry. I know I got a few people that are fishing it. Marty Mooney, I think I remember seeing your name on the list. 233 anglers are fishing Neely Henry. The things that are going on right now, the water temperature today was in the low 50s, high 40s. Okay, so that's your starting point. It's going to start warming up from here. So it's cold. Most of the water is either muddy or stained. I've found a little bit of clear water, but I didn't catch any bass in it. The clear water that I found was up Chakahuku, whatever creek that is. It's got a bunch of O's and CH's. I never tried to read it, but I went all the way up there and I caught like 100 white bass on a crankbait. I didn't catch a single keeper bass, black bass. But so clear water up that creek. The river's ripping. I mean, guys, if you're thinking about paddling the river, you might want to think twice. If they are still got the spillways open on Neely Henry, don't get in that river. My big boat was having issues in that river, so that's one of the biggest things. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great tournament. So, am I a fellow rad technologist? I was. I've shot X-rays at a trauma center for 15 years. I was an X-ray tech for 6 years in the Army. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, let's see. What water temps are down there? I just said that. All right. Let me get caught back up. All right. Nathan Provost talks about the Yak Attack Black Pack. He says, you cut your Black Pack to fit the 37 underboxers. Any plans on Yak Attack making one that fits a box that size? I don't know. I don't think so. It was not hard to cut that. Before I put it together, I took the two top pieces, the 2 little top slats, taped them together really good, and marked out how I wanted to cut it, and then ran it through the bandsaw. You could probably do it with any other saw too, but and just follow the line that I marked. So, whoa, that's pretty cool. Georgia DNR electrofished Okmulgee PFA, which they have stocked the crap out of. I love it. They had tagged fish in double digits at 5 years old. This is heavily managed. It is. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why I don't believe that in the old world record in Georgia, whatever the guy's name was that caught it down in the Ogeechee River, he caught that bass in 1932 in a oxbow lake off of the Ogeechee River. There ain't enough food in an oxbow lake to grow a bass that big. That's why I don't believe it was a world record. I think that his buddies at the post office said it was. That's my opinion. So just because of the amount of food I don't think that fish got enough food to get to be 22 pounds, 4 ounces. But you can't go back and dispute that anymore. Everybody's dead that witnessed it. Hey, Fluke, Loving Tuesday, Tackle Tuesday suggestion: add terminal tackle as much as possible. I'm going to do it. I've got the outline for a terminal tackle video. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that for this next Tuesday or further down the road. But yeah, definitely, I totally agree with that. Where do the bass go when the water is around 35 degrees in a small lake that's about 9 feet? To the deepest hole or to wood or anything that's going to warm up when the sun's shining on it. They're going to be really slow. They're going to kind of put your bait in their mouth. They're not going to move. You're not going to know they're in there. You're going to pull up. It's going to feel like grass, and it's going to be a bass, and they're going to spit it out. So it's hard to that's pretty tough. Hey, Gene, have you been got to send me the iconic cat? Yes, I do. That's awesome. Let's see. Hey, Fluke, you ever fish Deep Creek Lake in Maryland? I have not. Not at all. I haven't fished Maryland ever. I've been through it. So cod fishing from Australia. What's going on, man? All right, let's see if I can find some comments that I missed. Every time I touch this thing, it skips past everybody's comment and that's why I'm missing a lot of them. Why not side imaging on a kayak? I have side imaging on my kayak. The hardest thing is to get your transducer low enough to where the hull of the kayak doesn't get in the way. A lot of guys use the arm off to the side, which is a great idea. The Bonafide is perfect because it's got the dry pod in it that you can mount the transducer to the bottom, and you can get it low enough to where it's not where it's sticking out low enough to where it gets a good signal, but it's not so low that it scrapes on the bottom when you drag it on the ground. So is there ever a condition where you throw a scrounger bait? I got away from scroungers, and I'm gonna tell you why. I bought them when they first came out. I loved them. I was successful with them. I bought a bunch of them, put them in my tackle box. 6 months later, the bills on them had turned to yellow and they had cracked and fallen off. And I'm like, what a waste of money. Those things were not cheap. And so I stopped I'd rather throw a chatterbait. I really would. If I'm going to throw something like a scrounger, that I want to look like a scrounger, I'm going to pull the skirt off a chatterbait, put a trailer on it, and go. It's not for me. So let's see. Let's see. What's up, Scott? Here we go. Steve Story says, going to Jackson Lake, just west of Monticello, Georgia, in a couple of weeks and wondering what type of baits I should bring with me. Jackson used to be a really good largemouth lake. It now is a okay largemouth lake and a really good spotted bass lake. I'm going to tell you where to go. You go up the south you got the South and Yellow River to come together, and then they come out to the main lake. There's sandbars that run that. I grew up in Covington. Steve, so I know Jackson pretty good. There's sandbars right there. Fish those sandbars. They, for some reason, the spots pull up there and they pre-spawn on those sandbars. The largemouth will be up there too. You're going to catch them in the first 20 casts if they're there. If they're not there, then go find another sandbar. There's like 4 or 5 of them that are right there. That's the best place to start. And if they're not there, go to the bank, the south bank of that part, and fish those docks. So chatterbaits, square bills, flat-sided square bills should work just fine. So Tyler Sexton says, I want to take a moment and remind everyone of the 3 anglers that are still missing from they're still missing. I know they found the boat. 2 high schoolers and one of them's father. Please keep the prayer chain going. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I heard a little bit about it while I was talking to some guys at the tackle shop this week, right after they found the boat. Oh, that's bad. They should have never been at the Pickwick Dam with that much water coming through. In your opinion, was the Bonafide native merge a good decision? I think it was. Only time will tell, really. But I really think it was. I think in a year or two we'll be able to, or probably by the end of the year, we'll be able to tell whether it was good or not. I know Bonafide is now back to, they've got their ovens and everything moved up there. They're making boats and they're pumping them out. So, hey Gene, did you see the VMC has a heavy duty flipping hook Tokyo rig? Wow, yeah, I did. Mike Iaconelli had some and gave them out at the Bass University I was at over in Gadsden. So I've got a couple of them. I think my kids might have stolen them from me though. What GoPro do I use? I use a Hero 5 and I have a Hero 3 as a backup. Let's see. I'm trying to find a good question. A lot of comments. The best bait caster for 2020. I'll have to look at what's new this year. So I know 13's coming out with some new ones. I'm pretty excited about them. They look pretty sick. So that's all I can say. Have you fished Warden Pond in Rhode Island? I have not. I know a guy who has, but he lives down in Florida now. So old Russ, he's a good old buddy of mine. Hey, Gene, what would you throw into a bunch of stripers below blowing up a school of bait fish? I always either have a jig-headed grub, a little white jig-headed grub somewhere on my boat, or I have a clear Super Spook Junior are my two favorite things to throw at them. So a grub is easier to get the hook out. That's the reason why I'd rather throw it than the Super Spook. How do you use a jig, Fluke Master? Do you hop it back to you or do you drag it back to you? Most of the time I drag it. I very seldom hop it. Unless the fish are really active, unless it's like in the 80s, the water temperature, I'll skip it twice, or I'll hop it twice and then let it fall back to the bottom and drag it. I'm trying to mimic a crawfish most of the time, and you don't see a crawfish flying through the water. You just see when it's trying to get away from a bass or anything, it just kind of, it darts twice and then falls back down to the ground. So off the wall question. I just purchased 3 GoPros and wanted to start filming. Best way to start YouTube channel, and what carrying case do you use to carry your GoPro? I'm not showing you the floor of my office. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 hard cases in my office alone, and then none of them are the ones I use. I go to Harbor Freight Tools and I buy their medium-sized box. It's a waterproof box. It's dirt cheap, and that's what I keep all my stuff in. Get you some good stands. YoloTech makes really good stands for your boat. I don't know what you're fishing out of. Yak Attack makes really good stands for your kayak. And then learn how to edit. YouTube can teach you that. And do it. Don't quit. Stop talking about it. Just do it. That's what I usually say to people when they say, "Oh, I'm about to start a YouTube channel." I'm like, "Why haven't you started yet?" And because you're going to make mistakes to start with, but you just do it and keep going and don't quit. So I'm just the one that didn't quit. That's the only reason I'm sitting here right now. Hey, Gene, thanks for the recommendation. The Vexilar sonar phone for bank fishing. Love it. And shows me how to read a fish finder. Thanks. Yes, and I don't have mine right now. I took it into the barn. Usually have it sitting on my desk so I can show people. But yeah, I've been using that one for a while, and it's very basic, $100, dirt cheap, and really it is. It's just your standard basic fish finder, and I love it. Let's see. Oh, Jay, man, I'm sorry to hear that. It says missing anglers are close friends of his family. Oh, I can't imagine. Stream Junkie, best fish finder for under $500 for a John boat. What I always tell people when they talk about a fish finder and the best or inexpensive or whatever, make sure it has a mapping, color imaging, or a color down imaging, which most of them have color now. I need to stop saying that because this is when I started saying this, they were still black and white. Down imaging, and then get the biggest screen that you can afford. That's what you need to do. And so down imaging helps you figure out what the regular sonar is saying is showing you, and you can use the two eventually to really pinpoint what the fish are doing and where they're at. So, and then mapping helps you mark spots so you can get back to them and fish them. I've never fished Old Hickory. Good grief, I just skipped like 50 of them and I just barely touched my screen. Eric says, "Hey Gene, here in Canada is ice fishing time. Did you try ice fishing? Hello from Montreal, Quebec. I have ice fished for a week up on Lake of the Woods. And as far as sitting in a wooden box, staring at a toilet hole all day long, trying to catch a fish out of it, not for me. I like getting on a snowmobile and going to points and drilling holes and dropping a flasher in it and looking for the fish. I love that kind of stuff. That's fishing for me. So I really enjoyed the day I did that. But sitting in a box staring at a toilet hole is no fun. Y'all can have that hut crap. Hey, Gene, I'm going to demo an RS-117 in the morning. I'm currently in a Perception Pescador 10, and I wanted to upgrade. Would you recommend it? Yes, the RS-117 is super, super stable. It just doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that the 107 and the 127 have, the SSs. But the biggest thing I want you to do when you demo it, okay? And like I always tell everybody, kayaks are different for everybody. Get in it, rock it, grab hold of the handle, and really try to flip it. You know, and the water may be too cold, so don't do it if the water's too cold. But rock it, stand up in it, see how easy or how difficult it is to stand up, and then paddle it around and stop paddling and see if it tracks straight, if it bends to one side or the other. That ends up being a big issue if you're going to paddle. It drives me nuts. But that's what I would do. Really, really put it to the test. Don't buy it just because it says bona fide on the side. Buy it because it feels good to you. So, let's see. Tenor Rock Fish Management Area and Winter Haven Chain are good in Central Florida. Have you ever fished there? I have not. I almost did a couple of years ago, but I didn't have time. I was running through and I really wanted to fish Tenor Rock. I know a lot about it. I got buddies that fish it. I have every boat ramp in that area marked on my phone. I just never had a chance to fish it. So, holy cow, there's 230 people turned in. Hey, you guys, be sure to hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Wow, I didn't even realize there was that many people. That's freaking awesome. You guys got any questions about Logan Martin? Go ahead and ask them. I'll be more than glad to answer what I feel like answering. I may point you in the wrong direction, so don't trust me. I'm just saying. I'm a fan of gamesmanship when it comes to tournaments. Fluke, some people say not to mount the side imaging fish finder on a trolling motor. What do you think? I'd like to try it. I used to use the down imaging, because the down imaging, the signal's in a long oval shape. So if you spin the trolling motor, you'll be able to see out in front of the boat a little bit. I used to use it all the time when I was crappie fishing. So I'd still use a down imaging transducer on the front. Side imaging, I don't know. I can see the pluses and the minuses of it. But I guess people would use it kind of like the live scope, but it's a lot different. So let's see. Hey, Gene, I'm getting ready to buy my first boat, but it's a fishing ski. Is that a good boat to start with? Yeah, it's fine, dude. My buddy Caleb Bell up at Chickamauga, he used to fish out of his fishing ski. He had a winter where I think he caught 7 fish over 10 pounds out of his fishing ski. And I met him the next year, so I needs to say I know where that spot is now. Of course, it hasn't reproduced since then. What is needed to start fishing in a tournament out of a John boat? I used to fish pot tournaments out of a John boat. I had a 8 horsepower tiller steer on a 14-foot John boat, and I would fish against big boats. I had a couple of FLW pros that would fish the pot tournaments that I fished. It was a lot of fun. Best thing I would recommend is find out when your weekly pot tournaments are and go fish them. And that way you're just dropping 30, 40 bucks in a tournament going out and fishing, and don't care what people think about you. So, let's see. Extreme Junkie says, is the Lowrance Hook 27 a good fish finder? The guys I know that use them, yes, they think they're great. The good thing about them is they're basic. They're pretty much already set up for you. You just go out and use them. I think there's like minor adjustments on it and stuff like that, but it's not like one of the expensive ones where I'm always making adjustments and trying to fine tune it for the water conditions. So hold on a second. Let me get a drink of water. My throat's getting dry again. I think I need to put a humidifier down here in my office. I think that's my problem. Pond fishing in beds are already empty. Hearing reports on local lakes that bass are just getting on beds, guessing ponds shallow. I'm guessing ponds just warm first. The smaller bodies of water tend to warm a little bit faster. Joseph, you must be down south a little bit. That's about like northern Florida might be spawning right now. But maybe even middle central Florida, South Texas would be spawning right now, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I used to have a pond in a public fishing area that was really, really well protected from the cold wind, and they would always spawn early there. Let's see. All right, just skipped a whole bunch of them on accident. What's your thoughts on lithium batteries for trolling motor? Can you hook them up the same as lead acid 24 volt? Yes, you can. You just have to use a different charger when you charge them. Let's see. Was it Joe D says, see you in Alabama. I'm in the Alabama Monthly, which is the KBF Challenge Series. So one I always recommend that you guys start if you want to start kayak fishing is go into or join KBF and enter some of the state challenges, which are month-long tournaments. But I joined the Alabama one this month because I'm going to be in Alabama most of March. And then he asks, are you sticking around after Logan Martin? I am not. I'm going to Texas to fish Lake Fork. So then I'm coming back and getting ready for the national championship at Guntersville. Hey, Fluke, why don't you like using ugly sticks? They've never had the reputation of being quality. The only time I ever remember an ugly stick are the ones that you would make a cast and hit yourself in the butt with the tip of the rod on the back cast because they were so flexible and you couldn't get enough power for a hook set and they just weren't worth it. So I could not my cup of tea. I like good old carbon fiber rods and not fiberglass. So we were using fiberglass rods 30 years ago. There's some new technology out on the market. Anyway, so sorry, I didn't mean to trash them that bad, but that's how I feel. New angler from North Carolina, best way to fish for bass early spring like now. Thanks. Fernando, I would tell you right now, go watch. I've got probably 15 videos on fishing spring and fishing pre-spawn. Talks about colors, talks about locations, talks about water temperature, talks about everything pre-spawn fishing. And you'll go out and catch them. I promise. That's why I've done so many videos, because that's such a broad question that it takes that many videos to answer it. So yeah, man, that's what I would suggest. What do you think is the best finesse rig? I think the Ned rig is one of the best. The Nico rig's pretty good too, just harder to feel it. So I'm definitely gonna have a Ned rig tied on this next week. So what are my thoughts on 6-gill rods? I've never touched one. Just bought the new Lure 11.5 V2 kayak. That's awesome, man. What about let's see. Kenneth Rogers, you're awesome. You've taught me a lot. Have subscribed to you for about 4 years. That's awesome. Thanks, Kenneth. Appreciate it. Let's see. James says, I fish Lew's bait casters. How would you compare it to 13 Fishing bait caster reels? I don't know. I haven't used Lew's in probably 3 years. I had one of their Tournament Pros, which is one of their higher end ones. It was a pretty good bait caster. The way I describe 13 reels and 13 rods is they are better than their price point. So the components that are in it, the love, sweat, and tears that go into each of the rods and each of the reels, what you get out of that reel is worth more than what you paid for it. And so I just think they're the best deal out there. So that's why I'm still with them. If they start going to crap, I'm gonna cut the line and run away. How many anglers are fishing this next tournament? 233 will be on Logan Martin, which is going to be a challenge because there's not a whole lot of access points on that lake comparative to others. The rule is you can put in anywhere on the lake, but it has to be public access. And it can be like a paid boat ramp, but everybody's got to have access to it. They can't keep people from putting in there. So that's the biggest thing. And that lake, they've done a horrible job of having public ramps there. They're all private. So Any recommended scents to add while fishing jigs? I always use JJ's Magic, always clear, or if it's a green pumpkin trailer, I'll dip the tips of the trailer in methylate JJ's, and it turns them that orange you want crawfish to be. So, will you do another swim jig video? This is the lure I am worst with. Yeah, dude, I can do another one of those. It won't be anytime soon. I don't get back into swim jigs for at least 2, maybe 3 more months. So I'm all into crankbaits right now. I don't have a whole lot of crankbait videos. So that's really what I'm focused on right now is crankbait videos, maybe an underspin video, that kind of stuff. I'm really trying to wrap my head around it. And it takes me a little bit of research and a little while to get everything prepared for one of the instructional videos. Best kayak fish finder on a budget of $300. I have no clue. Look at the Hook 2s from Lowrance. I don't know what the prices are, but getting back into fishing after 15 years, going to get a kayak. I'm 57 and I'm going with the Blue Sky 360. Great choice. What are the important items I'm going to need other than vest, tackle, and rods? An anchor is the first thing that comes to mind. You're going to want to anchor that sucker down quite often, and some way to get the rope up fast. I use an Anchor Wizard. I don't know how they hook to a Blue Sky. A really good person to ask would be Drew Gregory, if you can get a hold of him on Facebook. He has been fishing a Blue Sky since they first came out, and he'd be more than willing to help you figure out what you need and what you ought to get for that. So, plus he's a celebrity. So, somebody says, "Am I using the Element these days?" Yeah, I'm using the Raymarine Element for my kayak. I love it. So why did they discontinue the Z? I have no clue. I'm getting mixed stories from like dealers and that kind of stuff. So I'm not really sure. The only thing I can think of is the reason that 13 would do that is they're coming out with something else that's going to be the same price point. And that's when they do that with their rods. So I'm pretty sure they would do that with the reels too. So best crankbait company. Whoo. And I'm doing this from my own experience, I'm not saying that this is the best way, but this is what I've done over the years, is I have picked one company that makes like the whole spectrum of crankbaits, from lipless to square bills to deep divers. And I stuck with one company for about 4 years, and that was Strike King, because I wanted to just make it simple for me. And now I'm branching off and I'm buying 6 cents, and 13 Fishing has their good crankbaits. I've got a whole bunch of them I just put in my barn. They're great. I mean, those are awesome crankbaits. And then what other ones do I use a lot of? I use some of the Bandits. I have a bunch of different crankbaits, but I started when I was getting into it. I just wanted to keep it simple. I know exactly what a 1.5 square bill is going to do. I know how deep it's going to dive. I don't have to guess. I know exactly what a deep diving, a 6XD is going to do. And so once I figured that out, once I got really good at that kind of stuff, then I started buying different crankbaits. So, and I don't know why I've been putting off doing a crankbait video. I just never, I don't know. I need to. So, if the coronavirus was a soft plastic color, what color would it be? Invisible, clear. I've been thinking of joining KBF, but I wouldn't be able to travel. What would your suggestion be about that? Join it and fish the state challenges. They're literally what it is. It's the best 5 fish that you catch over a month period. I think they've shortened it to like 4 weeks now. Instead of 31 days, it's now 4 weeks. But over that period of time, it's, you'll have 10 to 20, sometimes 30 guys enter it. And it's like a pot tournament, 100% payout, I think. Don't quote me on that one. But, and then you qualify for the national championship if you win and everything else. And that's what I would suggest you do. Get into that. That way you can fish your own waters. They have to be public waters, but you can fish your own waters. So, did you fish the Florida tournament yet? Yes, I did. And there's the check. I finished 5th place. So, spoiler alert. I guess it's too late for that. I'm thinking about getting into kayak tournaments. Hold on a second. Okay. Thinking about getting into kayak tournaments, but don't have a pickup. I have a RAV4. The kayak I'm looking at is the Titan Propel 13. Will I be able to transport that on the roof of my RAV4? You should be able to. Go watch the video that I made about loading a kayak on top of your vehicle by yourself. It kind of gives you a really good, inexpensive way of doing it. And then when you get your, you might need to change your luggage rack on your RAV4 and make it to where you'd be able to do that, but it's worth it. It definitely is. So only thing that sucks about kayak fishing is that when you're done, when you go fishing, you get to the lake, you've got to set your boat up and it takes forever. And then when you're done fishing, you got to tear it all off of there so it doesn't fly all over the highway, and throw everything back in your truck, and it just takes time. So I guess that's one of the advantages of having a boat, because it's just, my boat's a 19-foot tackle box. So let's see. Let's see. Ever fish a situation where you're adding a rattle to a lure or bait? Yes, from about November till end of March, I'm putting a rattle on a jig every single time. Now, any other time of the year, it doesn't matter one way or the other. To me, I'm putting a rattle on a jig. When I'm night fishing, I'm putting a rattle in my worm. I'm putting a bead in between the hook and the weight to make some noise. I always do that when I'm night fishing. So those are the two times I do it. Just did some major buys on crankbaits and lipless, getting ready for pre-spawn. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, let me see if I can get caught up. I heard the Strike King Thunder Cricket was almost as good as Z-Man jackhammer, a little less money. All right, I'm going to be honest now. I have a ton of jackhammers and I have a ton of Thunder Crickets. The Thunder Cricket is really good unless you got to go through thicker grass. It gets hung up in the grass a little easier, and that's because of the blade shape. The Z-Man jackhammer comes through grass just like any other chatterbait, really, really well. It's easier to rip out. Now, the way I love a Thunder Cricket, because it's got a little softer noise. It's not as rattly as the jackhammer. So this time of the year, when they want that quieter bait, I think the Thunder Cricket will outfish a jackhammer, unless you got more confidence in a jackhammer. But that's neither here nor there. So addicted to bass fishing. Thanks for the $10. Somebody else donated. Nick Barrett, man, thanks for the $5 Canadian. Appreciate it. What 13 fishing rod or shaky heads, drop shots, etc.? For shaky heads and drop shots, I always like a medium light action rod, or a medium for like heavier shaky heads. But it's going to be a spinning rod. The Fate Chrome is a really good one. I love the Fate Black because I love the handle for their spinning rods. Are really, really comfortable and balanced well. So either one of those. So the $80 Fate Black or Fate Chrome or the $100 Fate Black would be really good for you. Fishing my first kayak tournament on Saturday here in California. Any mindset I should have going in? Fish the moment. Fish what's going on right there. If it changes, then you'll catch it and you'll be able to adjust for it. That's what I always try to go into. It's the Mike Iaconelli mindset. Fish right now. Don't fish yesterday. Don't fish what you learned 2 days ago. What I do is I find an area that has fish when I pre-fish, and then I go and on tournament day, I'm prepared to figure out how to catch them. Okay. And if they moved, I'm prepared to move to where they move to. I try to guess where they're going to move to, which may be my problem next week, because it's really cold right now, but we're going to have a warm up. So all the bass are going to be different next week than what they were this week. Alex Rudd is a great crankbait guy. You're right. You're right, Tone. And I think he's got his live events right after mine at 9 o'clock. So over on his channel. Fluke, what's your advice for an angler getting into the sponsorship relationship scene? My advice is Make yourself more valuable to the company than they are to you. So Vexus boats, I really have not been a fan. I haven't ridden in one yet though, so take that with a grain of salt. But talking to dealers and stuff that deal with them and you know, that know more than I do about boats, I haven't heard anything really super about them. I haven't heard anything really bad either. Best ice out lure should be on the water in a few weeks. Best ice out lure I would think would be a jerkbait or a jig on rocky lakes. So let's see. Let me see if I can get caught back up. Who gave me 20 bucks? Sean Lay, thanks for the 20 bucks, brother. Man, you're awesome. Hope all is well, Gene. Here's some gas money for next tourney. Yeah, I'm going to need it. I got to drive to Texas after next week's tournament. I'm going to need all the gas money I can get. But I did find a Airbnb for 30 bucks a night. So it's basically somebody took a large shed, wooden shed, and turned it into a man cave. And so it's one bed. I think it's got a small little stove, a microwave, and a refrigerator, and a table and a chair. So it's perfect for me though. Favorite frog, I am really partial because I helped a lot with the design of the new 13 fishing pad crasher, or trash panda. My bad. 13 fishing trash panda. But I had a lot of a say so with that one. It's got a different angle on the hooks. It's got a different way that the air escapes. It's got a way to keep the water from coming in. They walk well no matter what's, you know, you don't have to trim the legs to make it walk better. It just walks really well. So I'm very partial to that, but I was very specific on the things that I liked and what I didn't like about a frog when they designed it. So see, what do I use in the spring in Indiana River? But it's a shallow river, 8 foot at the deepest. You know what I like to use when it's in a shallow river, if there's still current, is I like to use a square bill crankbait. And I like to use a small swim bait as well. I'm kind of like the paddle tails and stuff like that. You lose a lot of them, but I always have good luck with you know, current and with moving baits. So Ben Moody, water is 57, 58 degrees and stained, lots of piers, cypress trees, and sticks to get hung on. What should I fish? 57, 58, lots of piers, cypress trees, and sticks to get hung on. Something that won't get hung in the sticks. That's what I would say. Really fish a square bill, to be honest with you. Stay away from a chatterbait. Spinnerbait would work really, really good. And then a snagless swim bait, like a swim bait on a weighted hook. Kind of hard to explain. A weighted weedless hook. You'll know what I'm talking about when you look it up. But David Carver says, never heard you talk about an A-rig. Do you suggest one during the pre-spawn? I suggest somebody try it. I just don't like fishing them. And I'm going to tell you why. I've caught a lot of fish on an A-rig, and I stopped because I noticed a large percentage of them, when I get them into the boat, they've got a hook in their gut, like through their belly, or at least one hook in a bad spot on that fish. Just too many daggum hooks to mess up a bass. And so I stopped fishing them. I'll still make a video about them every once in a while, or I've been thinking about doing it, but I'm not a fan because there's just too many. I don't like to put hooks in a bass where they don't need to be. What's my favorite shaky head? Been looking at the 6th Sense. I haven't tried that one out yet, but it looks really, really good. I like the Missile Baits shaky head. I've really had a lot of success over the last year and a half fishing that thing, and I can't remember what it's called. And I used to have some on my desk because my desk is a mess, but I think I moved them all out to the barn. So, but yeah, the Missile Baits one is a really good one. Picasso makes a really good one. Those are the ones that pop in my head. I've got some that are really old that they don't make anymore too. They're okay. See, Scott Strite says, I've fished with spinning rods since I was young. What would be the first or the benefits of getting a baitcaster? Very good question, and I love answering this question. So The advantage of a bait caster is there's several different advantages. Now, a spinning rod and a spinning reel are really good for fishing light line techniques, finesse techniques. They're excellent at fighting big bass on light line. You're less likely to break them off when they're, when everything's right. Now, a bait caster, one, you get more cast in during the day with a bait caster. I can make 2 to 3 casts in the amount of time that most people with a spinning reel can make 1. And so you get more cast equals more fish. Number 2 is accuracy. You will be more accurate once you master or get really good. I wouldn't say master, but get really good at a bait caster. You will find that you'll be able to pinpoint cast a lot better than a spinning rod. I don't care how good you think you are with a spinning rod now. You get good at a bait caster and you'll notice the difference. Number 3 is speed. It's very difficult to find a 8:1 gear ratio spinning reel. And the advantage to having speed is, again, more casts. I'm flipping, I'm pitching to cover, and I throw here, and all of a sudden I see a lane open up, the perfect spot for a fish over here, and I reel in really quick and I flip to that one. And I just get more cast in during the day because I can get the bait back to me faster if I don't get a bite. And a spinning reel, you reel it in and you got to flip the bail, and it's just slower. So that's the advantage to learning a bait caster. I'm not saying do away with a spinning reel. I'm saying learn a bait caster and you'll find a whole different world of fishing for bass. So, Fluke, did you pick up the PFG Georgia Terminal tackle shirt from Columbia yet? First I've heard of it. I'll have to look it up. Fishing a 100-acre lake pond in Kentucky Sunday, 62 degrees. I'm guessing that's air temperature. Do great on drop shot there, but want to try something else. What would you try? If you do great on a drop shot, grab a Ned rig, dude, and tie it on the same rod. Seriously. And this is how you're going to want to fish it. You cast it out, let it sink to the bottom. Okay, bring your line tight, lift your rod, and let the bait fall back down to the bottom without dropping your rod. And then keep doing that. Just lift, let it drop. Lift, reel up your slack, let it drop. Thinking like, no, let me do that again. Cast it out, let it drop to the bottom. Lift, let it fall, reel up your slack, lift, let it fall, reel up your slack, just like that. That's what I would do. It's called a lift and swing, I think is what the method is called. And you'll catch a ton of fish that way. Fluke, did you pick up? Oh, I already read that one. Sorry. My beard is looking thicker. Sean, I'm gonna trim it tomorrow. It is thick. I've been on the road for roughly 2 weeks and haven't had a chance to do anything with it. You should have seen it when I woke up this morning. It was ugly. So, but yeah, it'll be trimmed up. It's starting to drive me nuts. Join KBF in fishing the Tennessee State Challenge. That's awesome, Sea Ghost. That's awesome. I'm fishing the Alabama one this month. So, but look out in June and May and June. I'm gonna fish the Georgia one, and I'm gonna beat the brakes off of everybody. What's your thoughts on Humminbird Mega Imaging? I have not played around with it, but I really like what I see. I'll take the Picasso Shockblade Pro over a jackhammer or Thunder Cricket. That's a good one, Chris. I've used it. It's got a different sound. I just don't think it's as loud as the jackhammer. And when I need a loud one, that's the one I'm going to go to. I'm not saying it's worse, but I fished it when it was a prototype, and I fished it right after it came out on the market. So production ones. And I don't know, it just didn't have the same vibration from what I could remember. Just started to use braid to fluoro using double uni, which is a good knot. Any issues with knot coming out of the reel? Also, how long is your leader? On a spinning rod, my leader is typically twice as long as the rod. It's usually where I start. And then on a bait caster, it depends on what I'm fishing. If I'm around docks, it's a short leader, but most of the time it's about a 6 foot long leader. I don't fish a uni to uni. I only fish a FG knot because when they're tied right, I have never had a problem with them coming out. But and they're nice and thin profile. So it's been high 70s all week, but tournament day, it's going to be 55. I would worry about it being 55 the day before. The day of will change the fish a little bit, but they'll still be pretty close to the same spot they were the day before. So I don't know what, it depends on how cold the night's going to be too. But they may pull out just a little bit. They may drop down into the ditches and that kind of stuff, but I doubt it. They might by the end of the day though. What's your thoughts on humminbird, Megan? Oh, you already read that one. What length rods do you use out of your kayak? I tend to use shorter rods. I use rods with shorter handles. I don't use shorter rods. So for instance, I have a 7'10". No, I have a 7'6" rod with an 8-inch handle. Okay, so I have, if I lay it reel to reel with a 7'11" rod, it's 1 inch shorter from reel to the tip. So I'm fishing a 7'6" that fishes like a 7'10". And the reason I like a shorter handle is it doesn't bump on my life jacket. It's still easily handled. I can cast it a mile. But I get that longer leverage with that rod, with the same length rod. And the longer your rod, the more leverage you got. What you lose when you're kayak fishing, you lose power on your hook set because your kayak goes towards the fish. I'm actually making a video right now that's a really, really in-depth video about all of this. But you set the hook and your bait and your boat goes towards the fish, so you lose power on your hook set. The shorter rod, you're going to lose more power on your hook set. The stretch of your line, you're going to lose more power on your hook set. So what I always tell people is go watch a video of Ron Champion setting the hook. Ron Champion's one of the top kayak anglers on the planet, and he hits a home run every single time he sets the hook on a fish, no matter what he's fishing, and he almost always gets it to the boat. So a longer rod will always be better. Boy, I know I went around my butt to get to my elbow, but that's kind of the way I was thinking. Hey man, did you get that Instagram message I sent you? I sent you the brown eye craw. I have, I think you were looking for. I did not. I'll have to go back. I get a ton of those every day, so I'll have to go back and check them. Plus, I've been pre-fishing, so I haven't been paying attention to my social media. Let's see. Melody says, I wonder if you were going Grizzly Adams on us. Oh, my beard. It is pretty thick. Yeah, it's driving me nuts. Oh, that's another one. Rod Royal talking about bait casters and spinning rods. He says, accuracy and silent entry. New bait casters are amazing for the price. I started on reels where the handle turned on the cast. Yeah, I remember those back in the day. The old loose cranking reels where it wasn't an anti-reverse bearing. It was pretty. I still have a couple of them, but yeah, you can get a lot lower trajectory, nice silent entry with a bait caster. Very, 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 very good. Would you fish jigs in muddy water? Yes, I do. I fish a black and blue jig. Paul, thanks for the $30, man. Would you ever consider fishing Lake Mead in Nevada? Actually, that's kind of on one of my bucket lists. It's really huge and a serious challenge. Yeah, dude. And it's super clear and super deep. That I would love to fish that thing one day. I got a bunch of family that lives out west, so I need to get out there and fish Lake Mead. 265 people. Welcome everybody. That's awesome. That is awesome. Dang, I've never had this. Well, yeah, I have. No, it's been a long time since I've had this many people. You guys must wonder about the fishing. Why did Cody Milton leave Hobie and switch to the new canoe? I have no clue. A lot of guys are trying to make this a living, so a lot of it has to do with money, and I don't blame them. Especially when you're getting started, you bounce around sponsors a lot, trying to make sure you get your bills paid. And so don't blame people for leaving when they're trying to get their career started. Some companies will pay and some don't think they have to. I remember back when you used those white rods, the ducket rods, with the composite cranking rods. They weren't composite. They were just really flexible. I prefer glass myself. Which do you prefer while cranking, glass or composite? Advantages to either. I don't use either. I use a full graphite. It's not a glass, graphite, composite, or anything else. They've learned how to make graphite blanks and roll graphite blanks where they perform better than glass. And the only way I can tell you is just to go grab a good high quality cranking rod that's graphite and go out and fish it. And you'll know what I'm talking. You'll see what I'm talking about. The advantage is it gets to the backbone a little faster. You have more power with the hook set, and you still get the flex to be able to fight the fish that you need to. So it's really, I think glass is a thing of the past in my mind. Those who use it, I think it's great. I can't, and I've tried and I can't. I lose too many fish. So Michael Lamenza says, I love your Tackle Tuesday videos. I hope you keep doing them. I'm going to do them as long as I possibly can. I love doing them. It's coming up with ideas that's getting to be a little bit tough, but I'll manage. I've got a couple of cool ideas, cool little fun deals. So goodness gracious, 248 people. If you guys haven't subscribed, be sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up too. We'll do this for about another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to jump off of here and go spend some time with my family since I've been gone all week. Have you found the cylindrical drop shot weights like you used to use? No. Everybody sends me pictures of the standard cylindrical Carolina rig weights. What I'm talking about, think of a bullet weight that's super skinny. So a half ounce is about 1.25 inches long, and a 3/4 ounce is about 1.5 inches long. And so they're really long and skinny. And nobody makes them anymore. So definitely, I'm down to like 6 now. Stefan, what's going on, brother? He said, Cashin got me up here in Suffern, New York, with Bass University. Has me at the Classic next week, Toyota Series in between Tuesday. Holy cow, through Thursday. You driving? I know you're driving. That's a stupid question. Holy cow, dude. But I'll see you at the Classic. Anybody going to the Bassmaster Classic Expo? So I'll be there Friday and Saturday at the expo in Birmingham, Alabama. So you guys come by and say hi. Let's see. What time for Tackle Tuesday? It's not live. I film it and then put it on there. So I'll watch it sometime on Tuesday. So J Dubs, man, thanks for the $10, man. You're awesome. So thanks for helping me learn to fish. Appreciate it, brother. I really do. Have you seen or tried the banana-shaped drop shot weights? I've seen them. I saw them like at the tackle shop day before yesterday for the first time ever. Never tried them. They make sense. They're like the old Lindy rig weight that don't get hung up in the rocks, and they probably are really good. But the old Lindy rig, and they still make them, were banana shaped. And I used to Carolina rig with those, and they were awesome. They're just really, really bulky, and they made a giant splash when they went in the water. So let's see. Let's see. Paul says, out here in Nevada, Lake Mead is really hard to fish because of the crazy gin clear water. Yeah, I've seen pictures. It's nuts. Do you have any gin clear water tips for this time of the year? Light fluorocarbon line and make really long casts. So you really want to get high quality gear. That's Clark's Hill, back when it had a ton of grass, was always super clear. And that was the biggest trick, was to stay way off your target and make really long casts with light line. My suggestion would be to put about a 15 to 20 foot long fluorocarbon leader on braided line on a spinning rod, like 10, 15 pound braided line, and you'll get really long casts with that. Any tips for fishing in Northwest Georgia? Air temps has been staying in the mid 40s, sometimes in the 50s. It's still, I think we're right at, here in North Georgia, I think we're right at the time where I would start throwing a lipless crankbait, and I'd start throwing a chatterbait really slow on the bottom, bumping the bottom as much as you possibly can. So, all right, one more question, guys. I'm losing my voice. Casey says, what's the name of that frog you talked about from 13 Fishing? That would be the 13 Fishing Trash Panda is the name of it. So, all right. Let me see. What are some good stained muddy water crankbait colors? Stained muddy water. I love red, white, chartreuse, and actually black this time of the year if you can find a black one. I used to spray paint some crankbaits black, but those are my favorite. White is excellent. Red is really good depending on the water color, not just the clarity, but like Georgia red, clay red. I never threw a red crankbait, but like browns and that kind of stuff. And it depends on your color, your mud that's coming down the water, coming down through the water. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna jump off here. I just seen Alpha Doggy say, "What's up? Go Dogs." But I'm gonna jump off of here. I'm gonna go spend some time with my family. I haven't been home in a week. It's been great. A lot of fun meeting or talking with you guys. You can always listen to this again on a podcast while you're traveling, or go watch it again once it loads on YouTube. But like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.